Hi, I'm Emily Mowland and I'm the ADHD Pathway Lead in Basingstoke, Cairns. I'm going to talk to you today about thriving with ADHD in school. ADHD is a neurodevelopmental condition affecting the ability to regulate attention, manage impulses, and a need for movement. Another way to think about it is that kids and young people with ADHD are relatively brakeless. They're unable to put the brakes on distraction, which leads to inattention. They're unable to put the brakes on their inside thoughts, which leads to impulsivity. And they're unable to put the brakes on acting upon distraction or thoughts, which leads them to be hyperactive. Children and young people with ADHD can struggle to regulate their emotions. And combined with a busy brain, plus potential sensory sensitivities, this can lead them to becoming easily overwhelmed, which can then trigger challenging behaviour and a fight, flight, freeze response. Please do also see the videos on ABC Diaries, Challenging Behaviour Workshop and De-escalation to help manage challenging behaviour. Combine the difficulty in regulating emotions with impulsivity. This can lead to isolation and rejection by peers and adults. The idea at school is that you sit in a classroom and listen to the teacher, follow their instructions, and complete the work set in the allocated time. Then the next time you have that lesson, you are meant to further develop that previously learnt knowledge. The difficulty is that children and young people with ADHD have difficulties focusing, and they're at greater risk of having processing and working memory difficulties, which makes learning super hard for them. And without the right support in place, they are at risk of underachievement. When faced with academic difficulties, social isolation, frequent reprimands, criticism, detentions, internal, external isolations or exclusions, hearing their name being called out in front of their peers, lots of children and young people with ADHD face low self-esteem. So, what can we do to help children and young people with ADHD thrive in school? Teachers are in an amazing position as they can enable a child with ADHD to thrive when reasonable adjustments can be put in place in the classroom. It's really important to highlight that one size doesn't fit all. Just like you and I are different, so are two children and young people with ADHD. All adaptations need to be individualised to that particular child, so involving them in the process will help. Also bear in mind that what worked 5 minutes ago may not work in 15 minutes' time or the next day, so there has to be a little bit of flexibility. It's advisable to have several different techniques available in your back pocket. Children and young people in secondary school and those in primary school should have a one-page profile or a passport. It may be called something different depending on the school. This should be created with the child or young person and highlight their strengths, what they struggle with, and how they can help themselves, and also how teachers can help them. This should be available to all the teachers who are teaching that particular child or young person. Visual reminders and cues will help them to remember what was said and therefore be more able to complete the work set. This can be visual timetables, timers, now and next boards, etc. In secondary school, it may just be a simple hand on the desk, just to prompt that young person. Lots of children and young people come into their own when they're engaged in active hands-on learning activities. Embrace this. Setting classroom routines and rules with the whole class from the outset and make them about what you want children and young people to do, not what you don't. This will enable the child or young person with ADHD to feel part of the solution rather than the problem. Children and young people with ADHD frequently need greater supervision owing to a disparity between their emotional and their chronological age, and difficulties with forgetfulness, organisation, prioritisation, and also timekeeping. They also struggle to get started on and see tasks through. They may not have completed their work because they forgot their homework book or forgot that they actually had any in the first place. They may miss homework deadlines because of over procrastination, or because it's too hard, or because school works for school and home is home and never the two shall meet. Thinking about where is best for them to sit in a classroom. Is it better to have them at the front of the class near the teacher, or would it actually be better for them to be at the back of the class where they can get up and move around, causing minimal distraction to other people? Who would be a good role model for them to sit there? Too many words at once can be really overwhelming. Breaking tasks down into smaller chunks, using clear, simple language, for example, giving one instruction at a time, can also be beneficial. Also, providing verbal and written instructions can be useful, as lots of children and young people with ADHD can have processing difficulties. Standing closer to the child or young person with ADHD whilst giving instructions can reduce the potential distractions and minimise that classroom noise. Children and young people with ADHD need movement, and they're often found doing multiple things all at the same time. When engaged in a task they enjoy or is of interest to them, fidgets can be really great at helping that focus. However, with more challenging tasks, physical movement breaks are required to help their brain to reset. Giving them jobs in the classroom is a great way to get that level of engagement. In primary age children, the 10-3 model can work really well. So 10 minutes of work, 3 minutes of movement or a task of their choosing. Remember, break times are super important to children and young people with ADHD. Keeping them in at break times to complete their work doesn't allow their brain to reset and rest, and is more likely to lead to emotional dysregulation through overwhelm and exhaustion. Build self-esteem by focusing on the positives and giving frequent positive feedback to encourage the good work that they're doing, rather than highlighting what they've done wrong or what they haven't done at all. When faced with challenging behaviour, rather than saying sit down, stop moving, don't, no, etc., which is quite triggering, try saying, is that a good choice or a not so good choice? Provide reminders between changing activities. It can take a while for children and young people with ADHD to shut off to their current activity and move on to the next. Consider tests and exams and reasonable adjustments, such as where they can sit them, additional time, and factoring in movement breaks. Please also consider any sensory seeking or sensory avoidant behaviour. This is often associated with autistic spectrum condition, but actually also happens with ADHD too. For parents, if you have concerns about your child or young person's academic engagement or attainment, speak to their teacher or tutor in the first instance, and the SENCO. Please remember that parents and carers are also able to apply for an EHCP directly via the Hampshire SEN Hub. Hampshire SENDIAS are also a really useful resource and can support you with this. In short, school can be a really tricky place for children and young people with ADHD. However, if we embrace the differences and the difficulties and challenges that they face, and help support them to develop those all-important skills of independence, then they can absolutely thrive in the classroom, and teachers are in such an amazing position to help them with this. I hope that was of use to you. Thank you for listening. If you need any more information, please don't hesitate to have a look at the Hampshire CAMS website.